Of the first decree of Emperor Frederic II against the defenseless Albigenses and Waldenses about 1230, Melanus relates from Abraham Bezovius, who completed the annals of Baronius, that Emperor Frederic II, at the request of Pope Gregory IX, issued his decrees against the Albigenses, however under different names given them by the emperor, saying, "Here commence the chapters or articles of the constitution of the emperor against the Patarini Waldenses." He then adds some other names which do not properly belong here. Men as well as women, whatever name they may bear, we sentence to perpetual infamy, that neither oath nor faith shall be kept towards them, but we banish them, and order that their goods be confiscated, never more to be returned to them. We likewise ordain by this decree that all officers, burgomasters, and rulers, in whatever office they may be, shall, for the defense of the faith, publicly swear an oath that they will, in good faith and to the best of their ability, endeavor to expel from the districts under their jurisdiction all heretics indicated to them by the Church. But if any temporal lord, having been requested and admonished thereto by the Church, shall be found negligent in purging this land from heretical wickedness, let him be warned that 1 year after the admonition we shall give this land for a prey to all Catholics, who, after they shall have driven out the heretics, shall possess the same without molestation and preserve it in the purity of the Catholic faith. We also banish those who believe the Waldenses and Albigenses, or receive them into their cities or houses, protect or favor them, ordaining that if anyone, having been noted as being in communion with these believers, does not satisfy the Church within a year, he shall be considered infamous from that time on. We add here that one heretic may convict another, and that the houses, or of their harborers, protectors, and favorers, or where they have taught or imposed hands upon another, shall be demolished, never to be rebuilt. Given. Of the second decree, by the Chancellor of this Emperor A.D. 1230. In another letter of Peter de Venise, we find another decree of Frederic II, which reads as follows: "We therefore decree and ordain that heretics of whatever name shall receive condign punishment throughout the empire, wherever the Church shall condemn them as heretics and deliver or indicate them to the secular judge. But if any of the aforesaid, after their apprehension, deterred by the fear of death, shall desire to return to the unity of the Catholic faith, they shall, according to the requirement of the Church ordinances, be imprisoned for life to do penance. Moreover, all heretics in whatever city, village, or place of the realm they may be found by the Inquisition, sent by the Apostolic See, or by other zealous adherents of the Catholic faith, shall receive like punishment, and those then who shall have jurisdiction there shall be bound, on the denunciation or intimidation of the inquisitors or of other Catholics, to apprehend and closely keep them until they, after their being condemned by the censure of the Church, shall punish them with death. We ordain like punishment for those who, with the crafty enemy, stirs up to be their advocates, or who are their improper protectors." At the end of the decree are these words: "But the heretics, whom they shall point out to you, you shall in each jurisdiction be bound to apprehend and keep in close custody, so that they, after the judgment of the Church, shall be punished according to their deserts, knowing that in the execution of this matter, if you will do your utmost, unitedly with the brethren, the Dominicans and Franciscans." Footnote: The Dominicans and Franciscans, though they seem to be very simple and modest, were nevertheless the principal actors in this matter. End footnote. "To expunge from our dominion the blot of this unheard of heretical wickedness," thus he calls the true faith, "you will render unto God a pleasing, and unto us a commendable service. But if any be slack or negligent therein, and unprofitable before the Lord, he also shall be justly worthy of punishment in our eyes." Given at Pavia. Of the third decree of Emperor Frederic II against the aforementioned persons, A.D. 1230, Peter de Venise relates in his letters a third decree of Emperor Frederic II, in which he gives fuller information concerning the surname of the Waldenses, namely Patarini, as well as regarding their belief and their spreading into all the provinces of the empire. It reads as follows: "The sects of these heretics," says the emperor, "are not called by the name of any ancient heretics, lest they should become known, or, what is perhaps still more shameful, they are not content with the ancient names, that is, to borrow their names, like the Arians from Arius, the Nestorians from Nestorius, or from other like heretics, but after the example of the ancient martyrs, who suffered martyrdom for the Catholic faith, they likewise from their suffering call themselves Patarini, that is, delivered unto passion or suffering. But these miserable Patarini, who are estranged from the holy faith of the eternal Godhead," thus he speaks of the true believers, "destroy with one sweep of their heretical wickedness 3 things at once, namely, God, their neighbor, and themselves. They destroy God because they do not know the faith and the counsel of God. They deceive their neighbor because, under the cover of spiritual food, they administer the pleasure of heretical wickedness. But far more cruelly they rage against themselves because, after destroying their souls, they, as extravagant squanderers of their life and improvident seekers of their death, ultimately also expose their bodies to a cruel death which they might have escaped by a true confession of and constancy in the orthodox faith. Thus he calls the priest faith. And what is hardest of all to say, those who survive are not only deterred by the example of others, whom they see die before their eyes, but they even strive to be burnt alive in the sight of men, as he afterwards speaks of it in this same decree. Therefore we cannot refrain, says the emperor, from drawing the sword of just vengeance against them the more vigorously to persecute them, as it is judged and known that they practice the more extensively the knavery of their superstition. Thus he calls the virtue of these people, to the clear exclusion of the Christian faith, on account of the Roman Church, which is held to be the head of all other churches, as it is known that they come from the borders of Italy, and especially from Lombardy, where, as we have ascertained, their wickedness overflows far and wide, and that from thence they have directed the rivulets of their unbelief even unto our kingdom of Sicily. It is furthermore the will of the emperor that the crime of heresy and all kinds of accursed sects of whatever name shall be reckoned among the public crimes, or those deserving of death. Yea, that the heresy of the Patarini, also called the Waldenses, shall be considered before all the world as more abominable than the crime of lese-majesty, that is, the crime of him that has offended the imperial majesty. The emperor also wishes that, as the Patarini or Waldenses walk in darkness in order to conceal themselves from the heat of persecution, endeavors shall be made to discover them and to earnestly seek them out, even though no one accuses them, and that the officers of the emperor, when they have found them, shall keep them in bonds, in order that at the proper time they may be called before the Inquisition or brought to the rack. And if they are accused only upon slight suspicion, we command that they shall be examined by ecclesiastical persons and prelates, and though they may err from but one article of the Roman Christian faith, and after admonition continue obstinately in their error, we ordain by this our present decree that the Patarini or Waldenses shall be condemned to death and burnt alive, and let no one dare intercede for them or against them that shall do this. We will justly direct our anger, given, etc.